Hello, my name is Areeb Qazi, and the topic of my research paper is going to be the irony and foreshadowing of 1984. I came across this idea when we were exploring panopticon and also Marxism through the Laurel article and the Anderson article. So, in my thesis here is going to be in 1984, the government's ubiquitous surveillance of Oceania citizens represents a hyperbolic yet realistic microcosm of the restriction of freedom and liberty in present-day society. So, basically, what we're saying here is that 1984 represents a lot of the things that are happening right now in present-day society, with the government being able to surveil us 24/7, as well as these ensuing restriction in freedom and liberty. So we're going to be looking at three primary texts here. The first one here is going to be 1984 by George Orwell. The next one's going to be The Trial by Franz Kafka. This book is very interesting because it also criticizes the governmental surveillance of its citizens, right? And then we can see here that they're kind of two sides of the same coin. So we have The Trial here, and then we have 1984 here. The third book is kind of up here in its ideas, where it's more of a contemporary criticism. We have Ulrich Peltzer's Tale de l'Ozone. This book is very interesting because it kind of is portrayed in the backdrop of these two books. It takes ideas from 1984 and The Trial and kind of uses them to synthesize another criticism in a post 9/11 landscape. So the supporting arguments here are going to be that in 1984, its portrayal of government, particularly through the lens of the suppression of individualism, can be extended to a contemporary landscape. Right? So the ideas in 1984, i.e. like the thought police or Big Brother or the party, all these kind of suppression of individualism entities can be sent to the real world, right? And then in present-day society, the governments have created a technological panopticon through the consistent monitoring of user devices, right? So it used to be like this. We had the government right here, and we kind of had the citizens, right, kind of having their freedom, right? But now what's going on is that we have the government here. We have the citizens around here, right? They're able to watch us 24/7 through the advent of the internet and its tracking abilities. So this increase in surveillance through technology has caused a reduction in our intrinsic and extrinsic freedoms. So intrinsic freedoms kind of relate to the idea that we have a certain thought, right? We don't have the ability to kind of think as freely as we did before. And the extrinsic freedoms are the idea that we're tracked wherever we go, right? If I go to the grocery store and let's say I just go here, right? They're going to be able to track me through the internet and my phone. So we've kind of lost ourselves there because we've lost the ability to kind of navigate wherever we want to. And this, in terms of psychology, is very interesting because it develops a psychological aspect or repercussion of extreme paranoia. So what's happening is that now whatever I do, I'm thinking, is someone watching me? Or I feel like someone's watching me, which is even worse. I'm thinking now, oh, will the government do this? Can I do this? Can I do that? This kind of results in a destroyed psyche. And then lastly, the Marxist concept of the party's brainwashing its citizens kind of is similar to the idea of the media, right? So we have the political structure, we'll call it the government, right? We have the media, which is a little bit below them. And then we have the citizens, right? The media now acts as a conduit. It doesn't portray news anymore. And what's even worse is that because a good chunk of citizens now get their news from the media, they're getting brainwashed in addition to thinking what the media wants them to think, which becomes another issue. This also relates to the idea of class struggles between the proletariat, which is just normal citizens, and the higher ruling power. We also see this idea through 1984 because we have the party and their ability to manipulate them through these big screens that they portray certain ideas, lines, say, oh, this is happening, right? So this is how we see the idea of 1984 as a manipulation of its citizens through the present-day society. Two wider implications are that 1984 represents the individual experience as well as the institutional issues that are concealed. We don't see a lot of the issues because we're not able to see them, right? We have kind of this higher ruling power that kind of hoards and manipulates us into thinking what we want to. And then another key issue here is that the novel also alerts readers to the perils of dictatorship, right? Because what's happening here is that we see society devolve into the state in present-day society, right? We have the US, it used to be like this, but now we're kind of devolving. And the same thing is seen in 1984 with the representation of the totalitarian state. So the two secondary sources we're going to be using are surveillance narratives, which contextualizes 1984 with Ulrich Peltzer's contemporary novel. And then we have propaganda and surveillance, which demonstrates 1984 under the framework of panopticism and highlights the propaganda of fact and fiction. Here's the glorious works cited page, and here's the meme. This was meant to be a warning, not a guide. Thank you.